Hello, everyone. I believe that you're all so great today, and you're welcome to our lesson today on the power of imagination, or the essential lessons of using your imagination. Yesterday we learned, or that's in the first class, we learned about the power of your imagination, how everything in this world actually started from imagining, and nothing in this world exists except by the imagination. So what we want to learn today is the first of the two techniques of using the imagination. Of the two techniques of using your imagination effectively. So yeah, maybe it's important to announce to you that there are only two techniques, 1 and 2. And never mentioned this a couple of times in some lectures, not all, but some lectures. He mentioned it in Imaginal Acts. He mentioned it in questions and answers to the 5 lessons of 1948. He mentioned it in the first in Assumptions Become Facts, which is one of the 5 lessons of 1948. So in the 1948 lessons itself, he mentioned it about 2 or 3 times. Hi, I'll listen. Hi, Tiffany. So that's in the 5 lessons. And then in Inner Talking lecture, he mentioned it there, that there are 2 techniques. In many other places, it described each of the 2 techniques instead of mentioning that this is technique 1 and this is technique 2. But there are only those 2. Now, there are 3 processes, and we're going to talk about the 3 processes in our 4th class, okay? But this class now, we're talking about the first of the 2 techniques, and in the second class, the class coming after this, we'll be talking about the second of the 2 techniques. So what is the first technique? Well, people call it SATS, that is State Akin to Sleep in this modern world, but I prefer to call it Imaginal Acts, because that's what they really are. Imaginal Acts. It's not just about, state akin to sleep. You could state akin to sleep from today till tomorrow and not do an imaginal act. But if you're able to do a single imaginal act and you remain faithful to that, the wish is done. It's that simple. So, what are imaginal acts? Number 1, number 2, how do we do them? And then number 3, number 2, how do we do them the best? So that's still part of how do we do them. So let's start with what are imaginal acts. An imaginal act is a mental action that is taken which represents the physical action that will be taken when the wish is fulfilled. Simple and period. A mental action that is taken which represents the physical action that will be taken when the wish is fulfilled. That's a mental or an imaginal act. Now, take note of the word action. We're talking about action. We're not talking about visualization. Okay? Visualization is one of the 4 aspects, or one of the 4 steps to doing an imaginal act. But the imaginal act itself is an actual action. In fact, it's only because of your physical immobility that you find yourself not jumping out of your chair or jumping out of your bed when you are doing the imaginal act. It's all because you're in a state akin to sleep, or because of your physical immobility that you do not represent or duplicate that action in physical terms. Well, I have lights out, but I know that you can still be able to hear me. Let's see if I can put some light on. Okay, yeah, we can manage it with this and have some light on. So, as I was saying, that is the only reason why you don't jump out of your chair or out of your bed when you're doing the imaginal act is because you've already assumed physical immobility. Besides that, it is an actual action. It has to feel real. But we're going to see that in the steps. But basically, an imaginal act is a mental action that is taken as representative of the physical action you will take if the wish is already fulfilled. Now, how do we do it? What is this technique made up of? What are the steps in it? There are 4 steps in an imaginal act. And the first of the 4 steps is desire, which is knowing what you want. So this is the starting point. And it is very important to understand this is a crucial starting point. If you don't start with desire, no matter what you're doing that you call inner work, you're simply wasting your time. Not because you won't get some results from the inner work you might do. Let's say you do affirmations, you're doing affirmations for your self-concept, you're doing script work, or you're doing any other thing. Yes, you'd get some results. You would see maybe some excitement in your life, some energy, you've been pumped up. But if you want a true transformation that at the end of the day satisfies you, makes you delightful and happy, you want to start with desire. Because the key thing about a desire is this. It's me asking myself, what is that thing in which when I have it, I will enjoy it and I will no longer want it? That's desire. What is that thing which when I have it, I will enjoy it and no longer want it? As simple as that. Alright? That is what we call a desire. So if I am aiming at something and it's not something, if I'm just doing some inner work and I'm just putting all of it in there, self-concept, affirmations, this, that, and the other, and it didn't start from what do I want. Now I could get something good, but it may not be what would satisfy me. I could get something great, but that doesn't mean that it is going to satisfy me. I could get something fantastic, but that doesn't mean that it is going to satisfy me. And this is why sometimes you see people mix it up and they go, oh yeah, it's not about the techniques and it's not about manifestations. It's not about desires. It's not about material things. It's about inner peace and joy and love. And I wonder, do you know what you're talking about? You don't. You clearly don't. Because if you do know, you would know it's about manifesting your desires. The reason why they say that is because having done the inner work, having done all of the affirmations and scripting and so on and so forth, and maybe they get some result, and it might even be a fantastic material result. But that is not what they want. That is not the desire. So they still go back home unsatisfied. That's why it makes sense to say, it's not about manifestation or this. It is about manifestation. Let's get serious with that. It is about you getting results. It is about things you want, whether it's material, or it is spiritual, or it is emotional, or it is financial, whatever it is you want. It is about having those things in your life. If it is not, then what else are you doing this work about? Why not just go on and sleep, wake up, and just, as it is put in scriptures, let it just sleep and wake up and die. That's just it. But it is really about knowing that you have the power in you to create any physical circumstance. Yes, to create any mental or emotional or spiritual circumstance. But I can create it. So you start with desire. Meaning you create a mental picture or a dream. You actually take a dream. And I think the better word is take, not create, but take. Because your desires are already prepared from the foundations of the world. They're always there. But you can take it and go, this is the thing I want. Or that is the thing I want. Or that is the thing I want. And then you can take it. Now, when you take it, what do we mean by you've taken it? Now you will understand that the whole thing is all done in imagination. A desire is essentially a way of life that you have constructed mentally, but you are not currently living physically. And you will not stop to think of it until it becomes how you live. That's just it. Let's say you want a car, right? You want to be able to drive yourself around town. What do we mean? We mean that when you get on the bus, you feel unhappy, frustrated, or displeased. Why? Because, in your mind, the thing you would have preferred or that you'd have wanted is for you to actually be in your car and drive it around town. So that's what you mean by the desire. You mean in your imagination, you see a different life. You see a life that is different from the life you currently live, and you'd like to be in that new life. Okay? And until you be in it, you can't feel satisfied, or you can't feel like no more of this desire. So you first desire, you first know what you want. We're not talking about you conditioning it either. We're talking about you simply being basic on what you want, not how you think it will happen. Take this example. Let's say you think let's say you ask, you're saying, well, Adelare, I want a job, but what you really want is to be making money. So you go, Adelare, I want a job, but in your mind you're going, so that when I get a job, I can then begin to make money. Oh no, actually what you want is to make money, period, not the job. Or let's say you go, Adelare, I want to travel to another country. And the reason why I want to travel to another country is so that I can have better opportunities for your career growth. What you want then is not another country. What you want is expansion in your career, growth in your career. That's what you want. So you always go to what you want itself and not what you think you need to get what you want. And maybe someone comes and say, hey, Adelere, you know what? I want lots of money. Okay, and if I should ask you the question, why do you want it? And you can't answer, I found that ridiculous. I just want lots of money. I just want money. I love money, Adelere. I want money in my life. If you can't answer that way, and then you go, oh, you know, because I want to use that money to buy a private island, and I want to buy a private jet. Okay, now you've conditioned it. It's not the money you want. It's a lifestyle you want. Do you understand that now? So you don't want to condition it first. That's the first thing that has to be in with your desires. That has to be something so basic. And by the word basic, I don't mean eat, drink, and shower. No, that's what I mean. By basic, I mean you don't want it because you want to get something else. It can be a huge thing. But you don't want it because you want to get something else. You want it just because you want it, and period. That's the first step in this technique. So the second step is visualization. All right. And I said there are 4 steps, right? 4 steps. So the second step is visualization. Visualization, otherwise called fancy, is when you use your imagination to create a picture that would imply you have already got the wish fulfilled. That's when you visualize. You are creating the picture. And we all do this. In fact, 99% of people who try to use the power of imagination stop at the point of visualization. They don't go beyond it. They do the desire, I know what I want, and then they go from there to visualizing. This is what, this is this, that, and the other, and boom, that's it. They don't go beyond, and that's why they don't also have the results following the desire. And then they go, well, I've been doing it and it doesn't work. It works. It's just you haven't worked it. You haven't got to the point of mental action. You've done mental fancy. You've done daydreaming. But that's what we call it. But it's just daydreaming until you enact it with power. Okay? So what is visualization? It is when you put together the scenes that would imply your wish is fulfilled. Which is something you do when, for example, let's say you want a car. Now you begin to visualize. You're wondering, what could happen? I think one of the things that would happen is that I would park it in my garage. Now that is visualization. I'd park it in my garage. Oh, I could hear my neighbor say, wow, that's such a nice car. That's still visualization. I could hear my neighbor say, wow, such a nice car. So you see a person now pick about 4 or 5 mental images that include personal actions, and the one that they would do this, park it in my garage, hear my neighbor say, such a nice car, I'll drive it around town, I'll carry my friends in it, that and other, and so on and so forth. So they put about a couple of scenes together. Now, what they try to do then is to imagine the same thing again and again and again, and that's not it. What you want to do on the point of visualization, is to be very clear and specific about the desire, just about the sin that would imply you've got the desire. And there are 3 rules you want to follow about this. I mean, after me experimenting with lots and lots of things, with lots and lots of desires, I found these 3 rules to be the exact way you can get the fastest result. Okay, I never mentioned them, by the way. But you didn't mention that this is rule 1, rule 2, rule 3. You just say this is a very important point. I would say ensure that, or take note that. Or I would say this is the sure way, or this is the essential way to get this. So the first of them is simplicity. And what do we mean by simplicity? We mean that your scene is set up to include only one event in this world. Just one event. And by event, we mean action. We mean things that would happen. That's just it. Just one event. Okay, so let's say it is the car, right? You want to get a car, a new car. Now, you've seen about 4 or 5 events I mentioned right there, right? I mean, one of them is park it in the garage. Another is that the neighbor is saying that's such a nice car. Another is that you've got the papers signed from the dealer. Another is that you've got the keys on the table or the keys somewhere in your house. Another is that you're driving it around town and enjoying yourself in it. Those are like 5 events. Now, choose one. Which one of them would you like the most? Is it where you're driving your friends around? Is it where the neighbor says, wow, that's such a nice car? Is it where you park it in the garage? Which one would actually, we may have 4 people in a room and give them this 5 sins, and each one of them would choose a different one based on what they enjoy the most in their life. Some would choose the neighbor, maybe because they like to speak with their neighbor about everything. So it makes sense to just choose the neighbor saying, oh yes, I saw your car, that was such a nice car. Or, oh wow, this is such a nice car. That's natural. And someone else might actually prefer to use the key, just dropping the key on the table. Why? Because, well, they live a conservative life, they're reserved, they don't really talk to lots of people, and that feels more natural to them to imagine. Okay, so they're going to choose it. But someone else has lots of friends that they love to go out together, and they know that if they have a car, they're definitely going to take these friends along around town with it, give them rides. So it's more natural then to imagine that you are taking your friends in this car with you. Feels natural, but you choose one, just one event that would be natural. Now it has to be simple. Okay, the simplicity isn't that you're choosing one event. And another thing about simplicity is that it involves 1 or 2 of your senses, at most 3. You can see, for example, if I choose the scene where I'm driving my friends around town, I can see the car, I can see my friends. That's one sensation, one sense. The second, in my imagination, is that I can speak with them and I can hear them saying things to me. Now, that's another sense, right? So I can hear my friends saying, oh wow, thank you for such a nice ride. Or thank you for the ride. That's the second. And then the third is I could actually touch, right? And no more than that. Just touch the steering wheel and feel that I'm behind the wheels driving the car, and I could hear them saying to me, thank you for the ride, and I say you're welcome. And I see them actually getting off the car. Period. Does that imply I've taken them around town? Yes. Does that imply that it's my car? Yes. Do you get the sense of it? That is actually the second principle. It has to imply the wish is fulfilled. It's not something that when you imagine it or when it happens, it means you will get it. No, it has to be that you have got it. If it means you will get it, it doesn't work. It only means you keep wishing for it. And that's what you're manifesting, literally. If you visualize what implies you will have it, then you will keep wanting to have it. And that's exactly what you're manifesting, what you're getting as a result. You have to imagine that you have got it. Okay, that's the second. The first, simple, involving a maximum of 3 of your senses in your imagination, and also just a simple event that involves only few characters. Okay, that's the first. Simplicity. Second, implication. That's to imply that you've already got the result you want. Okay, something that it cannot happen unless I've already got the car. Me parking a car in my garage actually implies I've got the car, right? Or me parking, or me, my neighbor saying, you've got such a nice car, does imply they see me and they know this is my car. So all of this imply the wish is fulfilled. But for example, imagine myself saying to my neighbor saying, oh yes, my car is arriving tomorrow. Does not imply I've got the car. Or saying to someone and saying, yes, I'm parking this garage because I'm expecting my car to be shipped in tomorrow. Still doesn't imply I've got the car. Or telling my friends and saying, yes, I've got the money right now. Oh yes, I received the millions and I'm going to buy a Ferrari tomorrow. Does not imply I've got the Ferrari. Do you understand? So you don't want to imagine things that mean it will happen. No, you want to imagine things that mean it has happened. As if you're looking back and you could go, oh, that's it. Do you understand? So that is the second that's the second rule for visualization. The third rule to guide yourself in visualizing the perfect scene for this technique is naturalness, meaning that the more natural your scene is, the more effective it would be when you imagine it. What do we mean by naturalness? Well, we mean that it is something so casual that it could happen on a daily basis. Okay, not something so extraordinary that you find it difficult to believe it could happen. Now, you may want something so big, such as you want to be a billionaire, and maybe you are homeless right now, or maybe you have lots of bills to pay, you don't know what to do, how to do it, where you're going to have it from, but you want to be a billionaire. Okay, it's that big, right? But you can still have a natural scene, or a close to very natural scene for yourself. One thing that would be unnatural, for example, is to imagine that let's say something that would be unnatural is to imagine that one of your relatives from a long time ago that I've not spoken in like 10 years is telling you, oh yes, I saw you on the news, you were announced as a billionaire. Doesn't feel as natural as maybe your spouse could say, oh wow, we're now billionaires. That feels more natural, doesn't it? If you have a spouse that would naturally be the first person to hear the news that you're a billionaire, it feels more natural to hear them say that, wow, we're now billionaires. Or if you have a parent or a child that would naturally see you now be a billionaire, it's more natural to imagine those ones saying, oh wow, congratulations, you're now a billionaire, than to imagine a distant relative saying that. If you'd more naturally see it on Forbes, let's say you don't like to speak with people, you know that you're going to be conservative, being a billionaire. So you know that you imagining an announcement on Forbes page isn't something likely because you're going to be maybe conservative about it. So you don't want to imagine that. But you can imagine that your spouse or your neighbors or someone does say you are a billionaire, maybe your accountant. Do you understand this point of naturalness? Something that feels close to home for you, that wouldn't feel like you are stretching yourself so far before you can feel that it is real. That is the third key in visualization. But remember, you don't stop there. This is where lots of people stop, including myself. I make that mistake sometimes. I would actually stop there and I wouldn't do anything. And then for days, weeks, even months, sometimes I would expect it to happen. And it wouldn't happen. Then one day I'm going to wake up and go, oh wait, I just constructed the scene, but I never really imagined it. So you want to take it to the point of imagining that you are really experiencing it. And the bridge between the second step and the final step is called physical immobility, or state akin to sleep. That is where I think this particular technique got its acronym, state akin to sleep, or SAT, from, because the physical immobility never often describes it as a state akin to sleep or drowsiness, where you're feeling as if you're relaxed. This is me on a chair now, and it is most recommended that you use a chair. If you like, you can wait until you want to sleep at night and be on the bed. But the most effective method is that you relax on a chair. Just relax like this. Maybe you do your hand this way. Maybe you do your hand this way. Maybe you do your hand this way. If it feels relaxing for you, yes, engage it. That's just it. You don't have to be in a lotus posture or something. No. What we after is physical immobility. Let me ask you a question. When you sleep at night, do you usually try to be in a particular comfortable position when you sleep? No, right? If you've ever seen a person who is sleeping, sometimes you'd wonder, how could they sleep in such a position? That must be so discomforting. But you know what? They don't even know it. If we call it physical immobility, state akin to sleep, meaning that you don't really care what your physical position is like. All that matters is that you are not concerned about your physical movement. You are no longer trying to move physically. You know you can move, but you are not moving, and you do not have the will to move. That is what we call physical mobility. So you can best induce it by feeling like you are sleepy. And that's why we call it a state akin to sleep. But if you can just induce it by just relaxing, it works that way too. And I think some of the natural times that you'd find yourself physically immobile, times such as when you just wake up in the morning, you find yourself having this natural lethargy to rise, right? You don't want to step out of the bed. You still want to feel like maybe just sleeping or lying. So that is a moment you're physically immobile. You could just do the work. When you want to sleep at night also, if you've observed yourself after you've locked the doors and locked everything, and then you get on the bed, you're just about sleeping, you're just about dozing off. Then let's say a neighbor comes knocking on your door and they go, call, they knock, they put a knock there. You're like, oh, who's that? I don't want to go out. Right? That is physical mobility demonstrating itself. That means that is the perfect time you actually want to imagine and know you are imagining the wish fulfilled. All the times that when you've just had a meal, especially when you've had a heavy or substantial meal, such as breakfast, lunch, or dinner, those times you naturally feel lethargic. You feel like you don't even want to pack the plate, not because you're not clean. That's not it. It's just because you just want to relax a little until you then stand up and pack the dishes to the kitchen, right? So that is physical immobility. It just means you're not moving your body. Okay, it doesn't mean you're trying to be in a meditative position of something or another position. No, it just means you're not moving your body. You have no will to move your body. You are completely relaxed. That's the third step. Then once you've attained that, you move on to the fourth step. And the fourth step is you now doing the mental action to actually imagine you are experiencing that wish fulfilled. That is the fourth step. So how do we do it on the fourth step? Now let's suppose the desire is for a new car. And let's suppose that the imaginal scene is you talking to your friends and you giving them a ride. So you talk to them and they say, thank you so much for the ride. And you're saying you're welcome. And you're behind the steering wheel. That is what you visualized. Which is when you're visualizing it, it feels like this. Oh yes, put this together. Oh, they're going to say that. Yes, I'm going to be behind the steering wheel. So it's like you're putting different aspects of it together. All right, that's what it is like. Like you're setting up a scene. But it doesn't mean you've already felt it or you've already put yourself behind the steering wheel. You felt yourself holding it and you've heard them saying those words. You just constructed what they would say. It's different from you heard them saying it. You've just put together that you're going to be behind the steering wheel. It's different from you actually feeling that you're holding the steering wheel. Okay? You just know that you're going to see them. It's different from you actually seeing them. So, what you're going to do in the mental action as you relax is you're not going to hear the words. It's not something you see on your lips. You hear it in your mind. You hear them say, thank you so much for the ride. And then in your mind you go, you're very welcome. And you can actually feel, not these hands, but you could feel as if it were these hands holding the steering wheel. And then you could feel as if it's your ears that actually heard them say, thank you so much for the ride. And as if it is your own mouth that said, you're welcome. You could hear it with your ears very vividly. You could see them with your eyes, but these eyes are closed, right? But you could see them with your eyes as they step off your car or get off your car. Now that is mental action. But you don't do it once. You repeat it because you have to master the act until they can say the exact words, until you can hear the exact answer, and until you can feel the exact situation as if it were real. Now I know someone who got a car, who got a very, very beautiful, what was the car again? Let me see. Actually, it's a group of them. Some of them got Porsche, some of them got Mercedes Benz, some of them got Maserati, and some of them got Range Rover Evoques and so on and so forth. Very nice, luxurious vehicles. And this is what one of them said was how they all got it. What they did was they would imagine that they were opening the car, right? That they stepped into it and held the steering wheel, started it, heard the booming voice of the car as it got started, and got it turned off, then got off it again and locked it. That is the thing they imagined. That was how they got their cars. And I'm not talking about 2 or 3 or 5 people here. I'm saying like about 20 of them actually got luxurious, amazing cars. That's what they did. Just make it vivid by imagining they opened it, got into it, started it, heard the sound of the car as it started with the vroom vroom, and then after they heard the vroom sound, they turned it off, got off it, and then they could feel that it was real, that they really got on the car. That was it. So it's that simple. You can do it. They did it for that. You can do it for anything in this world. But you have to get to that point of the mental action and repeat it. You repeat it in the one thing you're doing. You can repeat it like 5, 10 times until it feels real. As a matter of fact, state akin to sleep means this. You repeat it again and again and again until you fall asleep while doing it. Now, some people may say, oh yeah, but Adelore, but I find it difficult to sleep when I'm doing this particular imaginal act. I think I want to do something else. Hey, you don't have to do something else. Listen to this. The only reason why you find it difficult to sleep is because on your visualization point, you've not adhered to one of those 3 rules. The first rule, which is simplicity, the second, which is implication, and the third, which is naturalness. If you adhere to the 3, you find yourself able to fall asleep actually when you're doing the mental action. In fact, you would sleep just naturally, but you'd also be able to imagine the feeling and feel the visual field right before you fall asleep. I assure you that if you're not able to fall asleep, it must be because something excites you, and the excitement would come from especially you imagining something that does not imply the visual field, or that is not simple. It's either of those 2 especially that would make you not fall asleep in a very natural, relaxed manner if you're doing the mental action. So you have to repeat it again and again until you fall asleep. And if you do it today, but you wake up tomorrow and you still haven't got it, if you ever are conscious that I haven't got it, well, do it again. Don't maintain that thought of I haven't got it. Do it again. Repeat it. Or you can do something. Just commit yourself that night after night, I am going to imagine this exact scene, and in the day, I'm not going to give any thought. I'm not going to concern myself with how, what, where, or whatever about it. But night after night, I am going to do this exact technique. Now, let me tell you, techniques are very important. And I'm not talking about scripting. I'm not talking about affirmations. I'm not talking about journaling. I'm talking about this technique, Imaginal Acts. It is one of the 2 techniques of using your imagination. It is one of the only 2, and it is very vital. If you can operate it, perfect. You're going to have your result, and nothing in this world can stop you from getting the result. The phone I'm using right now to make this live video, I got it by using this particular technique. I did it on a Wednesday evening. I got into the room where I was staying that day, and it was evening, and I just asked myself, what would it be if I already got this phone? I'd be on a phone call with some of my friends, and I'd tell them I'm back on WhatsApp, and they would say, wow, congratulations, welcome. Alright, so I actually imagined that. I actually put the phone to my ear. In my imagination, I didn't have a phone, of course, but I put it to my ear in my imagination. I heard them say, congratulations and welcome back. I heard myself say, well, I'm back on WhatsApp. And I repeated that again and again and again until I fell asleep. When I woke up, I just continued reading the lecture I was studying that day. The following morning, someone contacted me, messaged me, said they would like to reach out to me on WhatsApp, but I haven't been available for some time. And I said, yeah, I don't have a phone. Then they actually bought me a new phone. As a matter of fact, I couldn't stop them from buying me that phone. I tried to send a message across to them on my laptop to say, hey, don't buy me the phone, send me the money instead. I'm going to buy a new phone for myself here. But the message wasn't delivered until 30 minutes late, when they've already bought the phone, they've already got the insurance on the phone, and the phone was already being delivered to them. 30 minutes after was when my network clicks back on my router, and then they got the message and they said, oh, I'm so sorry, but I've already bought it. I couldn't stop them from buying it. That is how powerful this is. Okay? So you want to use it. You want to try it, test it, put it to practice in your own life. You're going to get the result. But you don't want to concern yourself with how it would happen. So commit to yourself, in fact, that for the next 30 days, and I think that is just the standard way to really make the commitment. Yes, you may want 1,000 things in your life, but I like to assure myself this. How am I sure that I can manifest 999 things if I can't get one done? So I say to myself, well, get one done. When you get that one done, you then know for sure that you can get 999 done. So you can make that commitment to yourself and go, well, for the next 30 days, I'm going to imagine this one thing in my life. Maybe I'm going to imagine that I'm financially free. So the first is desire. I want it. I want financial freedom. The second is the scene. I'm going to visualize it. What would imply I'm financially free? Well, I could be having a toast with one of my kids, or with my spouse, or with my friends, and they would say, wow, what a story of your financial freedom. Cheers to your financial freedom. That's it. That means I told them the story of how I got financially free. I don't know the story, right? But I heard them say, wow, what a story that was. Cheers to your financial freedom. And then I imagine that, having relaxed myself physically night after night as I fall asleep for 30 days. And I won't break off until 30 days are complete. And then I do that. Do you know that if 100 people come into a room to do this, to do exactly what I've described right now, about 20 to 35 of them, before the 30 days are complete, are actually going to achieve financial freedom. That's one. Two, is that within another 1 to 3 months of that 30 days being completed, another 50 of them are actually going to achieve financial freedom. And within a year or two, the rest of them are going to achieve financial freedom. And one thing is sure, not one of them is going to fail to achieve financial freedom if all of them are going to do it. But the question is, will they? Or will they be distracted along the way? I'm going to ask you, do not be distracted. Try it. Do it. It works. So we're going to continue with the second technique in our next class. Until then, have a great time and bye-bye.